A 9-year-old boy had a dream of being an incredible entrepreneur. Now, this dream was not based on nothing. He lived in Ireland and was thousands of miles away from the United States, but he knew all about the American dream. He knew how, if you had a will and a way, you could achieve anything that you wanted to do in life. So he set about finding the best possible business idea in the world and executing that, because he knew if he could only do this, then in his world it would rain money. Now, his idea was cans of soda, 200 of them to be exact. His place of choice was the beach. He had a raggedy 9-year-old friend who was going to help him with it. And he had his summer holidays set aside to make all this money. And the morning when he started this first business venture, he got up really early. He had his sodas in the soda box. He was ready to call his friend and get started. And he looked out the window and he realized in that moment that he was absolutely right, because it was raining and it was raining and it was raining, and it rained for the following 2 months. And for every day he had a couple of cans of soda until his entire stock was gone. Now, in that moment, he realized that the American dream is not something that you accomplish straight away. The American dream is something that you learn lessons to accomplish. And he knew his first lesson was that Murphy's Law will always apply in business. Now, I am that 9-year-old boy, and I knew that the next part of my journey had to go further and find out more things so I could truly discover the American dream. And I took myself over to Australia. And I started in Australia, and I thought, I need a better business than cans of soda on the beach. I need at least 2 components to this business to make it great. One component was fruit. The other component was a stick. And yes, the great invention of fruit on a stick was born. Now, here's what's amazing about this business. It was actually very successful. Beyond any wildest expectations he had. He had people selling fruit on a stick in concert halls, on beaches, in parks, and everywhere throughout Australia. And for the next 4 or 5 years, he was incredibly happy. But then he realized that even though he had learned yet another important lesson in Australia, and that is that anything is possible, here he was, thousands of miles away, following his dreams. He knew there were more lessons to learn. So he made his way back to the United Kingdom, and that was me. And as I arrived in the United Kingdom, I set up a business which was a property development business. And we bought and sold properties in London and Richmond and Twickenham, and then we went to Spain and bought more properties in Madrid, and then we bought them in the south of Madrid, down in Malaga. And we did really well, and we learned our next incredibly important lesson in how to pursue the American dream. And that is that in business, if we truly understand the laws of supply and demand, we will be successful. But I wanted more. So the next part of my journey, I took my poor suffering wife with me, and we spent the next 15 years traveling through 35 countries. In each country, we set up a consultancy to help businesses become stronger. I lived in China, in Mexico, in Peru, in Chile, in Russia, all the way through Eastern Europe, and lots of other places as well, but I hadn't made it to the United States. But after this period of time, which I enjoyed so much, I knew I had learned yet another lesson, which is that across the world, we are all inherently the same. We have the same wants and needs, and as a business, if we understand that, we will be truly successful. So finally, I was ready to take myself to America. I had a great idea for a technology business, helping people find space all over the world. I then made sure that I started this business. I built a phenomenal platform. And I brought myself through New York and Dallas and Austin and Houston and Chicago and Boston and San Francisco until I finally made my way to Los Angeles, Santa Monica. And when I came here, I surrounded myself by incredible entrepreneurs, by people who had the same vision and passion and voice and hopes that I had. And more, They had skills. They had phenomenal products that they were developing. They wanted to change the world. But then something happened which rocked my entire vision of the American dream and everything around it. I noticed on one side, all of my friends and companions who had great products and great talent and great abilities, they were failing. And they were failing because they couldn't raise money through institutional investment. I then had other friends who were wealthy and parents who were powerful, who had connections, but didn't have great ideas. And these people were succeeding and succeeding beyond their wildest dreams. And I thought to myself, can it be that the American dream is merely a game for rich young boys to play? Now, I think before I got to this moment, I felt everything was going to go in one direction in life for me. And when I reached this moment, I did something, and I made a change in my life, which at that time I never imagined would be possible. But before we get to that, I think for us to understand what has been taken away from us, we must firstly understand what it is that the American dream actually is. And it was coined by James Truslow Adams back in 1931. And he said the American dream is a dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everybody, with opportunity for each according to ability and achievement. Opportunity for each according to ability and achievement. And in this technology world that we live in today, this should be the great enabler of the American dream, this faceless technological world. It shouldn't matter if we are black or if we're white. It shouldn't matter if we're young or if we're old. It shouldn't matter if we've been homeschooled or if we've gone to an Ivy school. The technology should ring through. And that should be the important thing to create great companies. And what I was finding was that great companies were not self-made by entrepreneurs. Great companies were being made by institutional investors who had decided which companies they wanted to be great. I had found out that actually our creativity, what makes us incredible as human beings, was almost irrelevant in the cause of creating a great business. And I want to share some supporting evidence with you that as I looked in this and I investigated it, it shocked me to my very core. The 98% number are the amount of technology entrepreneurs who fail every single day. Only 2% of all entrepreneurs who start technology businesses will succeed. The 97% is if you look on this side of the scale and you take the top 10 companies in the Silicon Valley, and their value is 97% of the other 30,000 companies that are in Silicon Valley. If we look at 95%, that is the amount of Ivy School founders in the biggest companies in the world. If we take 60%, well, you should consider yourself to be the unlucky ones, because you are the founders who initially thought you were going to be successful because you raised money, and then you got fired from your own company. 5% is if we take those entrepreneurial companies who started years ago and now have become Fortune 500 companies. That is the amount of female CEOs in these companies. And if you think you're unfortunate, you should look at the percentage of black CEOs in these companies. That is 1%. And finally, to 0%. 0% is the opportunity that you have if you come from a poor area and you want to become a technology billionaire. 0%. So this may seem crazy, right? You might think to yourself, but why would this happen? Surely the largest companies in the world should be sourced from the best people. And if the best people then become successful, then we're going to be in a place where everybody makes money on it. And that's not the case. And I don't believe that this is because institutional investors wake up during the day. And when I say institutional investors, I mean banks, I mean venture capitalists, I mean incubators, I mean accelerators, I mean anybody who provides funding in the startup scene anywhere throughout America or anywhere in the world. I don't believe these people wake up and say, I will be racist today, I will be sexist today, I will be classist today. I believe the problem is far, far worse than that. I believe that institutional investors inherently believe that the role of the entrepreneur in a successful business is diminished almost to zero in some cases. The role of the entrepreneur is irrelevant. Now, why would that be the case? It would be the case because if a company is going to be worth $50 billion, $100 billion, and you can invest $1 billion into that company, then the lazy majority of us will follow. And that thought, that idea that I have is borne through if we look at the amount of co-founders that are fired and replaced by MBAs within the first 2 years of their own business. If we look deeper into this and we ask a venture capitalist or an institutional investor, what do you expect out of a portfolio of 20 companies? How many will be successful? They will say to you, we expect 1. And in many cases, the quicker the rest of them go away and everybody can focus on the 1, the better it is for everyone. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, if we take away our credibility, we take away our creativity, this is not the American dream. This is the American nightmare. We take away our ability to make a difference, and then we have nothing as a race. And I want to take you just a step further before we look at how we can solve this problem and where I got to get my belief in the American dream back. And that is the inner workings of how funding works inside a company. And let me give you the 60-second overview. A technology company will be worth approximately $2 million the second somebody invests in it. Maybe $2, maybe $3 million, but around that reach. Not because of anything other than the fact that everybody gets valued at that length. Now, the institutional investor is very happy with this particular situation because their friend, let's call their friend Freddie, their friend Freddie is going to invest later on in the investment stages. And the investment stages are called seed, Series A, Series B, Series D, C and D. And those stages just signify stages in a company's life cycle. And the amount that's invested in and the amount of the valuation of the company increases each time. Not because there's any revenue in the company, not because the company is worth any more, not even because the CEO or any of the C team are worth anything. They are worth more because there is an agreement within the institutional investment community that the longer a company survives, the more that company gets to be worth. That is how everybody makes money. Now here's the problem with a pyramid scheme in any form, is there's always somebody who has to pay. And those people who pay are us when these companies go public. So this is not merely an entrepreneurial problem. This is a problem of the entire lifeblood of the United States and what type of entrepreneurs we are creating as the ones that we look up to. So what can we do about this? And let me start with you, and then I'd like to bring it to my personal very journey on what I would like to do to make a difference. And there are so many options for everybody. For those of you who are students, you are the activist of every revolution. You are the ones who stand up and say, enough, whenever there is an injustice in the system. And if ever there has been an injustice in the system, it is in this one right here. Everybody, even if you are not a student, you see startups everywhere around you. You can tell from this that there is hardly any opportunity for them to succeed. Imagine if you stepped up and just made a difference, whether it is giving them encouragement, whether it is offering them support or helping them, what you could do. Influencers, look at people like Jessica Alba, look at people like Moby, look at people like Ashton Kutcher. Those people have stepped up and said, we will invest money in these companies. We will take a stand in companies that we believe in so we can make a difference for tomorrow. Large companies, invest in your startups. Take examples from other countries where you bring the startups into your company and you help those people, but you invest those people, you make money on those people. But you're not going to judge based on eliteness, you're going to judge based on companies that you want to have close to you. Investors, I ask you for one company. Not everybody. Don't change your entire cycle. I don't expect that. Take one company from a disadvantaged area, or maybe just not from a rich area. That would be a beginning. Startups help each other. We all need to. If we do not, we will not survive through this. And mentors, there is a place for you in this ecosystem for everybody else. Now, this is where my journey took me. I realized my most important lesson when I saw my friends failing. And that lesson was, for all these years, I had been serving myself. I had been living a phenomenal life with the entrepreneurial dream, but I had been serving myself. And I had expected the American dream to be there and real for me without me contributing towards the American dream. So I made a decision. And my decision was to take my company, which was going very well at that time, it was increasing every year, and to put it aside. And my decision was to create a new company, and that company would be an evolutionary training academy. That academy would have entrepreneurs of all shapes and sizes, of all ages, of all colors, who can come in and work in that space. And we would focus on only one thing: accomplishment, achievement, ability, and then to that one thing, which is success. We would embody the American dream within our space. And what happened? We opened a space in Santa Monica. I took no institutional investment whatsoever because it would have been wrong for me to do so. And I let the environment bring to me what needed to be brought to me. We had Macerich, the shopping center, the mall in Santa Monica, who said, "We'll help." We had Microsoft say, "We'll help." We had Court Furniture say, "We'll give you furniture if it's going to help entrepreneurs." There are good and gracious people in this environment, and we did not create a charity. We created a for-profit company, and that company, Expert Dojo, trades and works on higher multiples than anywhere in the market, only because, and our numbers are around 26%, and only because we focus on the individual entrepreneurs, not on making a billion-dollar company that we know is not going to happen. What comes next? We formed forces with the Volunteers of America and with the Salesian Boys and Girls Club. And we have said, we want to take 50 disadvantaged startups within areas where they have that zero chance. And we want to take the same success rates that we've had for entrepreneurs across our program, and we want to take those success rates and we want to bring them over to the Volunteers of America and these 50 startups that desperately want a chance. And we will match the startups. Now, we will need help with this. We will need supporters. We will need mentors. We will need people to step up and say, yes, this is worth making a difference. And then what will come next? We're already speaking to people about building a fund, but not a fund that will be elitist, not a fund that will be disadvantageous to startups who are great and wonderful and incredible but don't have the contacts, but a fund that will focus on that entire universe of people who are being left out right now. So I want to finish by covering a couple of things which are tremendously important for all of us here, because there will be two groups of you who are watching this right now. There will be the one group of people who have heard what I said, and you may even have enjoyed some of the things that you've heard, but you won't do anything, in the same way that I didn't do anything for 30 years about helping other people. And it's not because we're bad people, it's because this is our programming. We have been programmed from a young age not to notice, not to care, but not to notice. And I appeal to you, in the same way that I did, resist your programming. And then there will be another group of people here. You are my Rockies. You had decided before this talk that you want to do something and you want to help and you want to get involved because you know that there are injustices. You don't need me to speak to tell you this. You can see this every single day as you walk down the street. And you people know that I am by your side all the way. Anybody can contact me at any time at Brian at Expert Dojo. I will be there, and I look forward to building a phenomenal community of change with you. And then finally, to take it to what really mattered in the first place, I was that 9-year-old boy who had that incredible dream of how we could be part of a world where the greatness of the individual overrides the complications that society brings us. Now, I now have a beautiful little boy, Liam, who also has an idea. And he has the American dream. And his American dream is bright and shining and alive. And his business is slightly better than mine. His business is helping poor people. He's got a business called F.O.O.O.D. We need to work on his business name, but his business is helping providing food to poor people out on the streets. And even he faces challenges. I like this picture the most because this homeless man is called Brian, and he's a beautiful human being, but he's a vegan. So as he was handed the food that day, he said, "I really appreciate this, thank you so much, but I'm a vegan." But I didn't have a backup plan with my cans of soda. He had 3 bananas in the car, which could go to the vegan person. So from me, I appeal to you, whether it's the 9-year-old in me, whether it's the 9-year-old that he still has, whether it's the 9-year-olds in all of you, or your parents, or your friends, or your family, or whoever's around. The American dream will not come to any of us if we just wait for it to come. You need to be the change. Thank you.